Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified Doctor of Naturopathy, Dr. Stephen Cabral, shares with you exactly how you can reverse aging, take back your health, and live a life full of energy and passion, with new 20-minute episodes every single day to keep you healthy and engaged. Now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We're here today with our first Cabral HouseCall of the weekend, every single weekend, bringing you all, hopefully, the best of wellness, weight loss, weight gain, and anti-aging. Love being able to respond to all of the different questions from the community. And that's the goal. I mean, the goal is just to try to be a second opinion for anyone out there suffering from maybe poor diagnosis, misdiagnosis, or just given no hope. I mean, that's always the goal, is that I try to help with this service, and I'm not the only one, right? I'm not the only one, not only the only one on my team who makes this happen, but the only one out there that's doing this. There's a lot of practitioners that are trying to be of service to the world. And many of them have a similar story to mine, is that they just didn't have anybody when they were going through this at, like, I was 17 years old. So it's my goal to try to help as many people as I can. And unfortunately, I'm only able to answer 6 questions typically on Saturdays, 6 on Sunday, but I do my best. And so if you write in to Ask Cabral, it's just about a 10 to 12 week lead time before your question gets answered live on the show. Do keep in mind, you can ask every single day your question inside of CabralSupportGroup.com. And most likely, we're going to have the answer for you that very same day. All right, let's not waste any more of my words, just giving you an intro to this show, but get on to what you are here for, which is listening to the community's questions, and then me just simply trying to do my best in order to give people a good place to get started. All right. So it looks like my team does such an amazing job. That's why I might be the one answering the question, but they do such a great job with prep and getting me here. This is episode 2745. So if you want to follow along with the questions, you can find them at stephencabral.com/2745. All right, let's dive in. First question is from Kelsi. Kelsi says, "Hi, Dr. Cabral. You are the best there is, and I appreciate you so much." Thank you, Kelsi. Appreciate that. Quick question about cortisol and blood sugar in coffee. If consuming coffee after water in the morning on an empty stomach, would adding homemade nut milk prevent cortisol and blood sugar from rising versus completely black? I know it's ideal to drink coffee with food, but just curious about this when traveling and waking early. Thanks. Okay, it's a great question. I've got many podcasts actually on does coffee break a fast or what beverages break a fast. And if you can't find those at stephencabral.com/podcasts using the search box, again, just ask at CabralSupportGroup.com and the amazing Michelle will be able to help you find those. Okay, so your question is, if you add something to the coffee, could you slow the cortisol spike? Because some people get a spike in the stress hormone cortisol from the caffeine. Well, for some people, if there is enough fat, it could slow the absorption of the caffeine. But not for anyone, or not for everyone, because it is, after all, liquid. So what happens is we typically recommend eat breakfast, do your morning hydration drink. I do the daily fruit and vegetable blend. I do a pinch of sea salt. I do a lime squeeze. Sometimes I add the alkalizing vitamin C. Sometimes I just take the full spectrum vitamin C capsules, my proteolytic enzymes, and a couple other things. Okay. But after that, I have breakfast. And the reason why I have breakfast is because I've tested so many of these things. And drinking coffee or caffeine on an empty stomach can really can really stress the nervous system. Some people, more of the endomorphic type, might have no problem with that. It just kind of gives them a little get up and go. Other people, it can be detrimental, burn them out in the long run. So what I would say is the only way to really know is to test your cortisol after coffee. So you can run the stress mood and metabolism test. Or you can also wear a continuous glucose monitor. And I just recommended a company last Friday that's the least expensive company that I've been able to find. So hopefully that's helpful, because again, you don't know. So the best way to do it is have coffee after breakfast. That will blunt the cortisol spike. And then it is possible that adding some healthy fat to that coffee, or maybe even taking it with some fiber, right, like some psyllium husk or something like that, may slow that absorption a little bit as well. But that might also not be what you're looking for. You might be looking to get that caffeine right into your veins, right? So I would say let's use our health tech. Let's look at the stress mood and metabolism test, or let's look at that continuous glucose monitor or even just a glucose monitor after drinking your coffee. All right. Joanna's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. Would love to hear your list on what foods to avoid during pregnancy. Okay, yeah, happy to help with this. I don't have a huge list. I've done many podcasts on how to have a happy and healthy pregnancy. You can find that at stevencabral.com/podcast. And again, cabralsupportgroup.com if you can't find it. So I always go with all of the ones that are higher in mold. So we're going to reduce those. Higher in heavy metals, we're going to reduce those, and higher in bacteria, which could cause an issue within the body, right? So I'm not an advocate of deli meats in the first place. We're eliminating those. I know some people say, you can just microwave the deli meats and you can kill all the if you're microwaving food in the first place, it's not the best thing, and deli meats are certainly not the best as well. I look for foods that are potentially higher in heavy metals. One of the sneaky ones would be more of like the brown rice or things like that. That can be higher in arsenic. So you just want to make sure that you're eating low arsenic brand rice-based foods. I'm looking for foods that would spike blood sugar, so any of the processed sweetened foods. I'm looking for mold-free based products like mold-free oats, if you're doing oats, things like that. So, and I'm also looking for, which is a more interesting one, non-fortified products. So no cereals or like nut milks, things that are fortified with vitamin D2 or folic acid, which are not, as ideal. So I'm really just looking at, instead of avoiding foods, I'm looking at healthy whole foods plus your prenatal or your daily nutritional support, plus your methylfolate, plus your omega-3s. So that's what I'm doing. Rather than like a no list, I'm saying, well, if it's not on your yes list, then it's on my no list, right? Like that's what I'm looking for. So, and it's more purchasing from brands that using the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. So I've named a whole lot of things today, right? So if these are kind of like new terms to you, I have all free podcasts on every single one of them. And I would be happy to help with those, and so would my team. So I want to go deeper. I want to help you more. Just let me know. But I also have a whole, I've interviews on how to have a happy and healthy podcast as well with Melissa Ambrosini. So lots and lots of shows on this. All right. All right, Missy's up next. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with all of us, Dr. Cabral. What are your thoughts on drinking alkaline water? How much? Best time of the day to drink or not to drink alkaline water? I'm not going to name the name of the system because I don't want to, disparage any of them for our drinking water, but sometimes wonder if it's a good investment or not. We live in a country, so we naturally have well water. What would the well water be better or alkaline water? Okay, so here's what I want to share. And thank you, Missy, for writing in. I'm not an advocate of alkaline water. And the reason is I don't know what we're talking about when we talk about alkaline water, because you can make water alkaline by adding just straight calcium to it. So do I want a water that's really high in calcium? I would be careful because so many people are deficient in vitamin D and magnesium that if you would take in large amount of calcium, it stays in the bloodstreams and it can actually harden the arteries over time. Now, you take in enough magnesium, you take in enough of all your cofactors like vitamin D3 and K2, etc., then that calcium is going to be able to move to the bones and the muscles and other places that it should be. So I'm careful there, right? But let's say it's an alkaline water that contains calcium and magnesium and sodium and potassium, like all your electrolytes, or maybe even some chloride, or maybe even some phosphorus. Then I would say, okay, at low levels, right? Low levels. I don't think that anybody needs to be drinking an alkaline water of a 14. I've never seen any great studies that show that this is highly beneficial for the body. I just haven't. And here's why. Because it's not that I don't believe in acid and alkaline. And I'm not against all the people who say that there's no such thing as acid and alkaline. Your body just maintains a steady pH in the blood of 7.356. Yeah, again, we understand that from basic biology. You can't really drop below a 7.2 for a pH or above a 7.4 in your blood, or you'll be dead. So your body does a really good job of balancing that from the kidneys and the lungs and certain other areas, which I won't get into right now. Now, I do think that there are benefits, though, to alkaline water. Here's how I make my own alkaline water. I add a pinch of sea salt. I can add some trace mineral drops if I'd like, and I can add a squeeze of lime or lemon. So now I'm getting the sodium and potassium alkaline, right? And I can get some trace minerals and I can raise the pH, but it's probably going to be like an 8.5 or a 9, not a 12, 13, 14, right? Which just, again, the way to cheat the system, if you really want alkaline water, you can just add a little bit of baking soda to your water. And a little bit of baking soda to your water will make it way more alkaline, and it's super inexpensive. So if you're just looking for alkaline water, and there can actually be benefits of sodium, which is called sodium bicarbonate, which is baking soda. There was a whole book written on the miracle of sodium bicarbonate. I actually did a review many, many years ago on it. I don't think that everybody should go around drinking sodium bicarb, especially with meals, because it can actually reduce stomach acid. However, away from meals, maybe there's a little benefit to it. So I just went off on that. I apologize. I eat my vegetables and eat my fruit for my alkalinity. And my water, I keep pretty much neutral, slightly alkaline. The water that I drink is spring water. I've got a bottle right here, right? This is Mountain Valley. I drink Pellegrino. I drink reverse osmosis water in my house. So yeah, there you have it. And I go slightly alkaline, not super alkaline, so that I can drink it any time of the day. Hopefully that was helpful. All right, let's see. We can get another question in. This one's from Stephanie. Stephanie says, "Hi, Stephen. I had a relatively healthy pregnancy, my only pregnancy, in 2019. At 36, or at week 36, my doc suspected I would have preeclampsia as my blood pressure was rising and I had protein in my urine. They induced me, but I wouldn't dilate past 7 centimeters. Therefore, they performed a C-section and sent me home 2 days later. I was not feeling right at home, so I checked my blood pressure and it was 183/118. I was readmitted to the hospital for post-eclampsia. After going through this terrifying experience, I'm very hesitant to conceive again. Do you have any suggestions, recommendations on how to best avoid high blood pressure during pregnancy?" Yeah, I appreciate you writing in, and I totally understand where you're coming from. And it is, it is terrible, but here's the thing, and I can always say this, your doctors, your medical doctors are always using the tools that they have to do their best for you. It doesn't mean that it's what we would always do in natural health, but they're doing their best for you given the tools that they have. And sometimes those tools are better than what natural health has. And again, I like to stay unbiased, and a lot of natural health people would never say that. But again, if there's something wrong, potentially with the mother or the unborn child, sometimes you do have to do a C-section. Sometimes you do have to induce. You don't to save the mom and or baby. Sometimes then the best of conventional medicine comes out. So now we can say, okay, regardless of if it was the best decision or not, and it very well may have been the best decision, no doubt about it. You can never really second guess yourself because you have to do what's best for you at that moment. My wife and I have done the same, with our kids. You never second guess. You do the best that you can with the information you have at that moment in time. Okay, so having said that, now the next pregnancy around, this is my recommendation. We look at the health of the body before getting pregnant. I can't recommend enough running the Big 5, and if possible, the bacterial and parasite stool test. So we look at your omega-3 levels for inflammation and blood pressure. We look at your gut function. We look at heavy metals. We look at your overall mineral levels. We look at your vitamin levels. We look at your mitochondria. We look at food sensitivities and so much more. We look at all of the factors that may lead to higher blood pressure. And we begin to work on those before you get pregnant. And so that then you can give yourself the best possible chance of a happy, healthy pregnancy for mother and child. And that's all we can ever do in life. All I can ever do in this life is try to keep myself as healthy as possible. Same with my children. And then if anything, God forbid, were to ever happen, I can just say, I did my very best and I can have no regrets. Do your best. That's all I can ever ask of anyone. And if you can run the Big 5, you run the Big 5. If you can only do the starter kit, you just do the starter kit. Those are available at stevencabral.com/shop. But always keep in mind, you can run these with an integrative health practitioner, level 2, or you can run them with a local naturopathic doctor in your area that specializes in these lab tests as well. So you always have that option. All right. Hopefully this was helpful. And let's say I want to get to one more question today. Can we get to one more question? I think we can get to one more question. All right. This one is from Gabriel. Hi, Dr. Rawl. Excuse me. Hi, Dr. Cabral. Big fan of the show. Thank you for taking the time to answer my questions below. For a few years, my dad has been living with pretty severe case of vestibular nerve damage to the point where if he turns his head in a sudden motion, the floor underneath him moves and causes him to lose balance. Needless to say, this affects him in everyday life, but also the things he likes to do, like playing tennis and golf. The doctors have prescribed antibiotics in different dosages, but they don't seem to help. He's been told the nerve damage is simply too severe to remedy the situation. I refuse to believe there's no solution for this and would love to offer some type of treatment or solution. Any recommendations, greatly appreciated. Thank you, Dr. C. Happy to help on this. Again, I don't provide any medical advice, medical plans, medical treatment plans, medical advice, medical diagnosis of any kind, but happy to help. So what I want you to look up at StephenCabral.com/podcast, because I have lots of shows on this, lots and lots of shows, including my own issue with vestibular imbalances, because we don't know if it's severe nerve damage, right? Unless he's had maybe a contrast MRI or a PET scan or something, like, do we really know that there's nerve damage? I don't know. I don't know. Could just be inflammation, could be some imbalance. So please look at my shows on vertigo, vestibular imbalance, just type in vestibular in general, you'll be able to find it. But for me, it was a food sensitivity. Of all things, it was a food sensitivity to a certain type of coconut milk that I was putting in my coffee. The craziest thing. And I literally had nausea and lightheadedness and dizziness for 2 weeks. I was trying all the different maneuvers to fix the crystals in my ears, all the physical therapy things that you can do. And you should try them all. There's no doubt about it. You should try them. And I said, okay, what have I changed over the last month? And I was like, it can't be the coconut milk. It's just coconut milk. And I just got rid of it. I got rid of anything and everything. And it was 3 new things that I did. And then I just introduced them one at a time. And it wasn't right away, but after 3 days of having that coconut milk again, lo and behold, my vertigo came back. And I'm like, well, I figured it out, but this is crazy. So if it can be coconut milk, it can be anything, right? So we need to figure out, again, I can't give you any medical advice. For me, I'd say, okay, we're going to put your dad on a 21-day functional medicine detox. And then we're going to be using the good omega-3s. We're going to be using things like that to really just empty that rain barrel. That's where I'm going to start with. And then if you can, run the big 5. You just want to do the things and control what you can control in order to get your best possible outcome. If he's never read The Rain Barrel Effect, I can't recommend that enough. It's basically free in the United States. You can find it at... I don't even know what the URL is anymore, at StephenCabral.com. If you just go to StephenCabral.com, I'm sure it will be on the homepage as well, that you can get a free copy in the US. You literally just pay shipping. I pay to have the book printed. So hopefully that's helpful. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the show here today. I'll be back tomorrow answering another 5 or 6 of our community's questions. Stay tuned. Enjoy your weekend. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at StephenCabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.